It's another day working to clear landmines in Tigray, northern Ethiopia. Hundreds of deminers are working to ensure the ground is free of landmines so that local people can return to live and farm. This border area of Ethiopia is infested with landmines left over from the recent war with Eritrea. A ceasefire is in place since 2000, but the threat from the landmines remains. In fact, 2 million landmines are buried in this beautiful land, remnants of successive conflicts over the last 70 years. It's the same all over Africa, making it the most landmine-infested continent in the world. It's also the continent that can least afford to tackle the problem. It costs about €3 to make a mine and put it in the ground. It costs €1,000 to take it out. The largest single donor to the work is the European Union, providing €700 million in the last 5 years. The highest proportion of EU funds go to Africa. Funding is not only directed towards clearing minefields, but also towards rebuilding affected communities. Educating locals about the ongoing danger of landmines is crucial. 2 million Ethiopians are at risk every day, and the most vulnerable are children. The Rehabilitation and Development Organization, RADO, makes a special effort to make children aware of landmines.
The most victims are children. It is about 64 to 65% of the landmine victims are children. And most of them are herders. Therefore, that's why we are using the child-to-child approach.
Child instructors show the danger areas: abandoned trenches from the war, abandoned houses, vehicles, pathways. Another example is where landmines are placed among cactus plants. Gathering cactus fruit is a common pastime among children. Luwam went out playing with her friends one afternoon and went to gather cactus fruit. She stepped on a landmine. Luwam lost half a leg. She was just 8 years old when the incident happened. In some ways, she was lucky. There were other children around to raise the alarm. She has made a good recovery, but she cannot help out at home anymore with essential chores like fetching water. There are child victims of landmines all over Ethiopia. Bereket lost 2 fingers when he tampered with an undetonated mortar fuse. Kibrab was one of 2 boys herding cattle. One stepped on a landmine. Kibrab received a serious leg injury. His friend was killed. While the physical damage can be horrific, there can also be psychological scars. Many children drop out of school and become withdrawn. These children have all undergone counselling and now have the confidence to help educate their peers about the dangers. RADO is also reaching out to the 30% or so of children who do not regularly go to school but work in the fields. Again, the educational technique is to use other children as instructors. Training locals to do the work is part of a broader strategy that allows the RADO professionals to withdraw, confident that the mine risk education will continue. The 1997 International Mine Ban Treaty is working successfully to put an end to landmines. The treaty requires countries to stop making and using landmines and to undertake to destroy their stockpiles. The European Union plays a key role in implementing the treaty, encouraging nations to participate. 48 out of Africa's 52 nations are signed up to the Mine Ban Treaty. Ethiopia has signed and is now set to ratify. The Ethiopian government's Mine Action Office was set up in 2002, charged with an extensive humanitarian mine clearance program. Soldiers in the Ethiopian army were demobilized and retrained as mine clearance specialists. Manual demining requires meticulous planning. Each deminer is allocated a small area and he works metre by metre, systematically checking the ground. He will not step forward until he is satisfied it is safe.
The man is at the front line for 30 minutes and he's got to be totally dedicated, focused all the time. It is labour intensive, it is slow. The actual demining itself is comparatively easy. It's the management of the demining that is important and critical.
The process unearths endless fragments of shrapnel or bullet casings or bits of metal of a more innocent nature. This company of 100 deminers has been working for about 7 months. They found 44 unexploded devices and over 76,000 metal fragments. The reality of demining is that days and weeks go by without finding anything. But standards cannot diminish. The next step could be fatal. Mechanical means of demining can also be used where the terrain allows. This machine thrashes the ground to uncover and detonate any landmines. A specialist dog unit is also being deployed. The dogs verify the land has been cleared to a humanitarian standard. A humanitarian standard means that to a depth of 20 centimetres, every square metre can be certified as safe for people to walk, for children to play, and for farmers to work. About 300,000 subsistence farmers were displaced by the war with Eritrea. Now, 4 years after the ceasefire, when war-torn towns are slowly recovering, many thousands are still living in tent camps. Once their land is cleared of mines, they can return to work their farms. The farmland of Mesgobo Area has been certified mine-free. With international assistance, he and his family are rebuilding their home and their lives.
The impact after clearance is free, and people can come to where they used to be living and use the land forever. They believe it's safe. They have the belief on us that we are doing it to 100%. Once they come in here, they can do anything what they want. They can walk freely.
When a mountainous area has been affected by war, it makes demining all the more complex. No demining machine could cope with this terrain. 35 minefields have been mapped in this district alone. 24 have been cleared already. Progress is steady, but the Ethiopian Mine Action Office estimates it will take 20 years to clear their country of landmines.
As you can appreciate, landmines take a long time, a lot of effort, money to remove. So it's an expensive operation. The tragedy is that because it's an African state, they don't get to share the same donor confidence as Europeans. So, for example, Kosovo, Bosnia, and then coming Middle East, Lebanon, Macedonia, they get far more exposure and more funding for landmines than anywhere in Africa. And that's rather sad, because there are more people affected by landmines and more landmines in certain countries in Africa.
The demining work will take decades. The civilian population has to be equipped to live with the daily threat of landmines. The International Mine Ban Treaty is making a difference. The production and use of landmines worldwide has decreased dramatically, and stockpiles of 37 million mines have been destroyed. The global trade in landmines has virtually ceased. But 65 countries still live with the hidden terror of landmines, with as many as 20,000 casualties every year. If that number is to decrease, the international community must remain politically and financially committed to ridding the world of landmines.